What's up, good people? I just wanted to come on here and talk to you guys a little bit more. I just posted a video, and today is Friday, September the 5th, 2025. But I wanted to come on here and talk, like I said, a little bit more about the video that I just recently posted, in which that video is talking about New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina, and the military being deployed there, and just the overall response that was given by the government in reference to this catastrophe that happened down there. But like I said, just to talk a little bit more about it, I had, and not just about Katrina, but just the military being deployed in general. And I spoke about how the media, and I said the far right media, was stating that the crime in Washington, D.C. has gone down even more since the military has been deployed. And I'm not saying that that's not accurate information, because it only makes sense, and I'm a logical thinker. And so, of course, the more military and or the more policing that a city has, the likelihood of someone being caught in the act of a crime, or someone being caught after committing a crime, the likelihood of that happening is a lot higher, because you have more people patrolling the streets. And so, yeah, it only makes sense, because you deploy more troops, military in this case, to the streets, that the crime rate is decreasing. Just imagine if Washington, D.C. had 200 more police officers to help them police their streets, then the crime rate would be even lower because of that reason. So I'm not contesting that. So that's not an argument of mine. My argument is the fact that the military is being deployed in American cities. That's what my argument is. Just reason being, if the government, the federal government, meaning the president, if they truly cared so much about correcting, or not just correcting, but helping to decrease the crime that's going on in cities around this country, then they would give these different cities federal grants or whatever have you, more money, in order for them to be able to recruit more police officers and actually be able to offer them a salary that's worth them risking their lives. You see, because most police, when they first start off, they're lucky to make $50,000 a year. And you telling me that I'm going to go out into the streets to try and fight crime and risk my life and me not going home to my family again for $50,000 a year? Even though I want to help serve and protect the community, that's not the problem. But still, it has to be worth someone willing to go out there and risk their lives every day to help protect the community. And like I said, if the federal government really truly cared, then that's what they would do, in opposed to taking military and putting them on the streets of America. But like I had told someone, the reason why he is doing this is to gain more control and to get more power. Because if you could imagine, if he was able to put the military in every state in this country and have the military basically do what he tells them to do, then he could succumb or overcome a lot of obstacles that may be in his way, that's stopping him from becoming that king that he wants to be, and or that communist leader that he wants to be, because he wants to eliminate the democracy that was created here in the United States, and he wants to change all of that into Trump's government. And he wants to stay in office as long as he has breath in his body, And as long as people are willing to listen to the nonsense that he feeds them. And then on top of all that, because crime, and to a lot of people, is a big issue. And most people would love to see the crime completely eliminated. You see what I'm saying? But we have to face the facts and know that that's not possible. But at the same time, we want to see the crime decrease. There's nothing wrong with that. And so what this president is doing, he's using that as a shield to cover up what he's truly trying to do and is going to do and is doing right now. And what he's actually doing is he's going into these homeless camps. He's destroying these homeless camps. God knows where these people are going to go after their camps have been destroyed, in order to make the city look better and cleaner as well. In which I get it, people want to live in a clean city. But at the same time, we have to be reasonable and know that we just can't take all of the homeless people and put them in concentration camps and destroy their tents because we want the city to look neater. As a president, what he should be doing is figuring out ways to help house these people. You know, in certain states, and it might even be in Washington, D.C., the government and others had come together and they created these little tiny homes for homeless people to stay in which it's like a little community to help clean up the streets and to help them possibly get on their feet and actually go to work and do something better than having to beg and or sleep out on the streets. And we also have to look at the facts, y'all. And the facts are that majority of the working class people in this country are barely keeping their heads above water. And I am one of those people. It is extremely difficult, especially when you have a family, to be able to pay all of your bills, feed your family, and pay off your credit cards, because majority of us have gone into debt because of the fact that we don't make enough money, and it's hard to wait for the next paycheck to come in order to pay a bill when you're going to be late on your bill. And so a lot of people, more than I would say half of the people in this country are struggling. And majority of these people, the majority of us, are one paycheck, two paychecks, three paychecks away from being out on the streets if something was to happen to our income. But yet we are portrayed as being moochers and bloodsuckers just because we have to depend on the government in order to subsidize our income so that we can go and purchase groceries. Or for people who have babies to be able to go and get Pampers and formula for their babies, and they have to depend on the government for that. But yet the government is trying to cut all of that out. So if you look at the big picture, and I'm going to tell you exactly what this guy is doing. He's destroying the low income bracket altogether. He's getting rid of that. And so the less people that are able to get on food stamps and whatever else help that they need from the government, the more money the government keeps for themselves. And they're not going to take that money and put it back into the community. They're taking that money and they're using it on themselves. Majority of you guys are aware that this president is remodeling the White House. And this remodel is costing millions of dollars. And it's not money out of his bank account. This is taxpayers' money. And yeah, it's a few $1 million, but to people like you, to me, and I don't know about you, but $1 million is a lot of money. But to the rich, $1 million is nothing to them. And so he's throwing it around as if it's an insignificant number. But in reality, that means a lot to people who are struggling. You want to eliminate the health care for people. And with this crazy guy that's running the HHS or whatever they call it, for him to basically force his ideas upon the Republican voters. And because a lot of these voters are not using what God has given them upstairs, they hang on to every word that comes from this group of people that is running the country right now. And we should know that these vaccines that have been in place for decades, y'all, for decades, if these vaccines were that terrible, we would not have civilization as we know it today. If they were just that bad, that all of these people are dying, getting autism and all this other stuff from taking vaccinations. And yeah, I'm not saying that there's not side effects. There's side effects to everything in life. Whether you eat, whether you're eating something, injecting something, or just standing out in the sun, y'all, there are side effects to everything in life. But yet we can't eliminate the sun from shining. We cannot stop eating. So my point is that there are more lives being saved by these vaccines that we have been given, in opposed to lives being lost. And so you have this stupid governor in Florida. I don't even understand. Well, I understand how he's still in power, because Florida is a red state. And I don't understand how so many people could be so ignorant. I don't know if it's because there's so much money floating around in Florida that they think that their money can buy them health and buy them life and eternal life here on earth. I don't know what their thought patterns are, but it's stupidity. It's downright stupidity. Because once these children, and with it being a mostly Republican state, you're going to have more people that's going to lean towards the thought process of this guy that's over the HHS, in which if the law was to stay in place as far as they must have their vaccinations, then people who oppose the vaccinations would still have their children vaccinated, because they have to have them done in order to go to school. But when you put that in front of them and say, well, you have a choice now, so now you got all these little boys and girls running around unvaccinated. It's not their fault, it's their parents' fault, but yet they're going to be spreading germs that's going to cause these diseases to reemerge and to run rampant throughout the community, to the point where people who would normally go to Florida for vacation is going to think twice about going to Florida, especially if you're going down there with your children. And it's going to take a few years for something like this to happen if they continue down this path, in which I pray that they don't, and that they realize that these vaccinations are necessary. You can even ask this guy. He's the same one that says, yeah, my children are vaccinated, and it's probably because they had to have the vaccinations to go to school, because if it was left up to this non-thinking guy, he more than likely wouldn't have his own children vaccinated. But we have to look at the big picture in everything, y'all. Let's think about this. When your child gets sick and they're coughing and they're sneezing, majority, not everybody, but majority of those people who do not believe in vaccinations will run to the pharmacy, will run to their pediatrician. You hear what I'm saying? They'll run to the emergency care center and say, oh, something's wrong with my child. Can you please help me? So if you can trust the cough syrup, the cough medication, and the flu medication, why not trust the vaccines? But once again, but majority of these Republican voters are not thinking. They're not thinking. They're looking at everything one-sided. And you just have to look at the whole picture whenever you're making a judgment or you're going to make a decision that's going to be a costly decision if things go wrong. You see what I'm saying? And I know I kind of went off into some other things, but these are the things that have just been weighing on my mind. And I just have to get it all off of my chest and off of my mind, y'all, because a lot of people just don't see what's unfolding right before our eyes, y'all. And people are looking at this so-called president as if he is the savior, and he's actually the destroyer. And because we have so many people that are so blinded by sin, by lust, by wants, and all these other negative things, to the point they do not see that this guy that's right in front of them is the actual destroyer. He is helping, and there's several of them. I'm not saying he's the only Antichrist, because there's many of them. And y'all saw in my one video that he admitted that he doesn't think that he's going to get into heaven. But yet he's the same one that'll turn around and say that, yeah, I'm a Christian and all this. Yeah, you can be a Christian. You can be a Baptist. But that doesn't mean that you are a follower and a believer and a worshiper of Jesus Christ. And that's the difference between being labeled and opposed to actually doing what you should be doing in order to get to heaven. But yeah, man, and like I was saying too, that he is doing all of these things because he's going to slowly keep implementing the military. He just wants them in every state. And they don't have to be throughout the entire state, but just at the capital or the most known parts of it. Because if you think about Louisiana, most people, when you think of Louisiana, you think of New Orleans. Some people think that New Orleans is the actual state and not Louisiana, just because you hear more about New Orleans than Louisiana. Just like here in Georgia, you think of Atlanta. In Illinois, you think of Chicago. And so he's implementing the military in these places. And I already told you about, and he confirmed about New Orleans. Atlanta is not going to be too far off in the near distance as far as him wanting to implement the military or deploy the military in Atlanta. But he wants to do that, y'all. And so if you can get the military in every state, now he has power. He has more control. Because a lot of people know if you go to jail or even if you go to the military and when you're in boot camp, you are under control by that, whatever you call the trainer. You see what I'm saying? And so if you can get the military in every city, as soon as somebody step out of line, here comes the military with the big long guns and all of the heavy artillery. Most people are going to back down from that. Most people back down from the police, let alone imagining the army coming through your front door. But that's what he wants, y'all. So I'm telling y'all this now. Let's just be prepared. We must definitely be prepared for what's to come. But I hope everybody has a great and wonderful weekend. And I hope to talk to y'all soon.